The legendary Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." If we were to somehow magically transport Seneca, toga and all, straight into our current era, I'm pretty sure he'd take one look around and amend that quote to something like, "And you are actively volunteering to be lobotomized by a glowing rectangle." Seriously, take a step back and just look at us. Look at what we're doing. You and I possess an extraordinarily complex neurological supercomputer right inside our skulls. We're talking about a brain capable of splitting the atom, composing breathtaking, tear-jerking operas, and putting literal, remote-controlled rovers on the surface of Mars. And how are we utilizing this absolute marvel of human evolution? We are furiously swiping up on short-form videos, hunched over like pigeons in a B.F. Skinner behavioral lab, frantically pecking at a lever, hoping for a pellet. Imagine dragging Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, or Leonardo da Vinci into the 21st century. Imagine sitting them down, handing them a sleek little glass device that contains the entirety of human knowledge. Literally every book, every map, every scientific discovery ever made. And then forcing them to watch you spend 4 consecutive hours staring at a teenager doing a viral dance trend in a fluorescent-lit grocery store aisle. They wouldn't just be disappointed in us. They would probably turn around, walk straight back into antiquity and say, "You know what? Never mind. The bubonic plague was actually less destructive than whatever this is." Please don't misunderstand me here. I am not putting you on trial. I am putting all of us on trial. And I am sitting right there on the bench next to you. Because we have collectively, globally, adopted a habit that I truly believe is infinitely more hazardous than almost anything else we do. It's sneakier than heavy drinking. It's worse for your heart than a terrible diet, and it is far more deceitful than the best scam artist out there. I'm talking about the habit of chronic, perpetual anesthesia. It's not about being inherently bad. It's not about being malicious or lazy. It's just about being entirely, completely, 100% checked out. And honestly, being checked out is actually more terrifying than being evil. Evil, at least, has a motive. Evil has an agenda. Anesthesia just sits there, blank-faced and drooling, while the sand in the hourglass of your existence quietly, steadily drains out onto the floor. Most people assume that the things that ruin lives are loud and obvious. We think of gambling away your life savings, wrecking a car, or making some massive, very public, very embarrassing mistake. But those are amateur threats compared to the silent sniper of human potential: digital escapism. It is the daily, minute-by-minute habit of fleeing from your own reality until your reality simply forgets that you even exist. And do you want to know the truly chilling part? No one is staging an intervention for you. No one is sitting you down in a circle of folding chairs. Why? Because your neighbors, your friends, your family, they are all infected with the exact same virus. It is completely socially acceptable to sleepwalk through your days in a localized coma. In fact, it's not just acceptable, it's expected. Think about it. If you were to go sit on a park bench right now, put your phone deep in your pocket, and just stare at the trees and think deeply for 15 minutes, strangers walking by would literally assume you were having a severe psychiatric crisis. I'm not joking. That is the current baseline of our society. Being actively present is viewed as abnormal. Introspection is essentially treated as a symptom of a disease. Let me clear something up for you right now, in case you've been beating yourself up. You are probably not a lazy person. You are not inherently defective. You don't lack drive, and you certainly don't lack ambition. What you actually are, my friend, is caught in the most meticulously engineered psychological snare in the history of capitalism. You are trapped in the loop of synthetic achievement. You know the feeling. That little phantom vibration in your pocket. That bright red notification badge that practically screams for your attention. That artificial, fleeting surge of validation when someone likes a photo. It's not an accident. It utilizes the exact same neurological pathways as a shiny, ringing slot machine in a Las Vegas casino. You pull the lever, your brain gets flooded with cheap, discount dopamine. The high evaporates in 3 seconds, and you are left feeling completely hollow. So you instinctively pull the lever again. The architects of this system aren't cartoon supervillains plotting world domination in a volcanic lair. They are just highly paid behavioral psychologists and tech billionaires who realized a very simple, very lucrative math equation. If they can keep you hypnotized, they can keep monetizing your eyeballs. You don't even realize you are sitting in a jail cell, because the cell is air-conditioned, the mattress is memory foam, and you can get decent sushi delivered right through the bars in under 30 minutes. Congratulations. We are all proud inmates of a 5-star psychological prison. And the crazy part is, we are actively paying the subscription fee to stay locked up. Let me ask you a profoundly uncomfortable question. When was the absolute last time you allowed yourself to be profoundly, agonizingly, painfully bored? I don't mean bored while scrolling. I mean 0 podcasts playing in the background, 0 music, no screens, no synthetic stimulation whatsoever. Just you, a room, and the silence. We forget this, but boredom used to be the ultimate incubator for human genius. Take J.R.R. Tolkien, for example. He was a university professor sitting at a desk grading a towering stack of incredibly dull exam papers. He got so intensely, mind-numbingly bored that he picked up his pen and randomly scribbled the words, "In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit," on a blank page. Boredom literally birthed Middle-earth. You and I, on the other hand, we start experiencing mild heart palpitations if we have to stand in a Starbucks line for 40 seconds without checking our email. Historically, humans used to leverage boredom to invent literature, map the stars, and pioneer philosophy. Today, we treat boredom like a terminal illness that must be immediately self-medicated with endless, infinite content. Have you ever stopped to realize how utterly unhinged that is? We are absolutely terrified of 5 seconds of stillness, acting as if the silence is going to physically jump up and attack us. Newsflash, the silence won't kill you. But do you know what will? The relentless, exhausting, never-ending habit of running away from your own mind. And the wildest part is that Seneca warned us about this 2 whole millennia ago. He said life is long enough if you know how to use it. If you were standing right here today, looking over your shoulder, he'd look at your phone and say, "A life where your screen time report averages 8 hours a day isn't a life at all. It's a simulation." And let's be painfully honest here. If Seneca posted that as a video, you'd probably swipe right past him so you could watch an oddly satisfying video of someone pressure washing a driveway. I know, because I've watched those videos too. It's highly entertaining. But it is completely, utterly useless when you actually need to navigate a real-world crisis, which is exactly why our prefrontal cortexes are slowly turning into digital mush. Here is the brutal, unvarnished truth that you need to hear today. This sneaky, invisible habit isn't just wasting your time. It is actively erasing your identity. You say you are killing time, but time is immortal. You are the one dying. And it's not happening in some dramatic, cinematic fashion with explosions and a booming Hans Zimmer soundtrack. It is happening quietly, swipe by swipe, Tuesday after Tuesday. The real danger isn't that you blew 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon watching reels. The real danger is that your mental muscles atrophy to the point where you can no longer tolerate being alone with your own thoughts. That is the precise moment you stop being the main character, and you become a background extra in the movie of your own life. Have you ever experienced that deeply unsettling sensation where you feel somewhat detached from reality? Like you are hovering a few inches outside of your own body, just watching yourself go through the motions. Listen to me. That isn't a spiritual awakening. You aren't vibrating at a higher frequency. That is acute dissociation. That is the direct side effect of living so perpetually distracted that you don't even feel like a resident in your own physical body anymore. You are essentially paying rent for a house you never sleep in. I bet some of you haven't had a real, uninterrupted conversation with your authentic self since about 2019. And here is the bitter pill that none of us want to swallow. Absolute convenience will rot your soul. It's like a slow-moving rust. You wake up, you silence the alarm, you immediately open an app while you're still tucked under the covers, and you whisper the same lie you tell yourself every morning. I'll get serious about my goals tomorrow. But tomorrow compounds into weeks. Weeks blur into years. And eventually, you wake up and realize your deepest ambitions don't even feel like yours anymore. They feel like a distant rumor about someone you used to know. Your internal battery is permanently stuck at 12%, flashing red. And the most heartbreaking part? You can't even pinpoint the last time you felt a genuine electric surge of being alive. Not temporarily amused, not comfortably numb, alive. You have actively traded the beautiful, unpredictable, messy chaos of writing your own adventure for the safety of sitting on a couch, watching someone else's heavily edited, color-graded highlight reel. It is the exact equivalent of selling your own legs just so you can buy a front-row ticket to watch someone else run a marathon. Think of it like this. Imagine your existence is an exclusive, once-in-a-lifetime movie premiere. Right now, the vast majority of society is sitting in the theater of their own life, staring down at a 6-inch glowing screen in their lap, while their actual masterpiece plays silently on the massive IMAX screen right in front of them. The popcorn is getting cold, your neck hurts from looking down, but the memes are pretty funny. And then, suddenly, the lights snap on, the credits roll, and you look up and realize you completely missed your own premiere. You just sat in the dark holding a ticket stub to an event you refused to participate in. That is the chronic anesthesia I am warning you about. The habit of existing everywhere in the digital ether, except right here, right now, in your own flesh and blood. Listen, I have immense empathy for you, because this is not entirely your fault. You are fighting a multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure that was specifically mathematically engineered to sever your connection to reality. Every ping, every buzz, every pop-up notification is a deliberate psychological tap on the shoulder whispering, "Don't process your feelings. Don't look around. Don't reflect. Just consume." And who actually wins in that scenario? It sure isn't you. Here's a hard truth. You are not the consumer in this economic model. You are the raw material. You are a human oil well, and your attention is the crude oil. They will keep drilling and drilling until the well runs completely dry. And the truly psychotic part of this dynamic is that we enthusiastically volunteer to be drilled, because they've brilliantly masked the extraction process as entertainment. That is exactly why all these platforms are entirely free to download. Because your hijacked focus is worth infinitely more to them than a $9.99 monthly subscription fee, your attention is the single most valuable asset on planet Earth, and you have been throwing it out the window like worthless monopoly money. I need you to ask yourself a very sharp, very honest question right now. What are you running from? Because beneath every compulsive urge to distract yourself is a raw, unprocessed emotion that you are terrified to confront. Maybe it's deep loneliness. Maybe it's imposter syndrome. Maybe it's that quiet, gnawing anxiety that you are falling behind your peers, or the fear that you've already squandered your best years. Instead of sitting in the fire and feeling those emotions, you reach for the anesthetic. You doom scroll. You order junk food. You binge a 9-part true crime documentary about a guy you don't even care about. You rationalize it by saying, "I had a really hard day. I'm just decompressing." Let's be real. You aren't decompressing. You are hiding. You aren't physically exhausted. You are existentially terrified. And fear is a master of disguise. It loves to dress up in a cozy, weighted blanket and call itself self-care. But your subconscious knows the absolute truth. You aren't resting. You are retreating. And the longer you retreat, the more monstrous the thing you are running from becomes. It's exactly like noticing a small water leak in your basement. Initially, it's just a little drip. You could fix it with a wrench and a YouTube tutorial in 5 minutes. But you don't want to deal with it, so you put on noise-canceling headphones and go upstairs. By the time you finally take those headphones off, the entire foundation of your house is flooded, and the structural integrity is ruined. That is exactly how neglected emotions operate. That is how your life falls apart. I'll let you in on the darkest secret of this whole cycle. The ultimate tragedy of chronic distraction isn't the wasted hours. It is the systematic destruction of your bravery. Every single time you choose anesthesia over reality, you shrink. You subconsciously wire your brain to believe, "I am incapable of handling my own life without a digital pacifier." You teach yourself that your own mind is a hostile environment, that stillness is an agonizing torture, and that you must constantly flood your senses just to survive the day. Eventually, the baseline of normal human existence starts to feel impossibly heavy. And then you lie awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering why you feel so profoundly hollow inside. I'll tell you exactly why. You are trying to sustain your soul on the junk food crumbs of cheap dopamine, when your biology was engineered to consume a massive, meaningful feast. You are a great white shark swimming in a plastic backyard kiddie pool, wondering why you feel suffocated. Take a step back and look at your lineage. Think about your ancestors. They survived literal ice ages. They outran apex predators, survived brutal famines, fought in muddy trenches, and navigated across violent oceans using nothing but a piece of wood and the stars. Do you comprehend the mathematical impossibility of your existence? Thousands of generations of humans had to survive insurmountable, unimaginable horrors, just so your specific DNA could make it to this exact moment in time. Your great-grandparents survived world wars, and we are having minor physiological meltdowns because the Wi-Fi router needs to be reset, and Chrome is showing us the little offline dinosaur. You are not a fragile creature. You are just profoundly addicted. And remember, addiction doesn't always look like stumbling out of a dive bar at 3 a.m. Sometimes it looks like, I'm just going to check my email one more time. Sometimes it looks like telling yourself you are going to sleep at 11 p.m., only to snap out of a trance at 2:30 a.m. with your retinas burning from blue light, having achieved absolutely nothing but watching 400 strangers lip-sync audio clips. Let me give you an analogy to anchor this in your mind. You are like a high-performance million-dollar sports car. You have a massive V12 engine under the hood, capable of unimaginable speed and power. But you have parked yourself inside a dark, cramped, windowless garage, and you have left the engine idling in neutral for 5 years. The garage is filling up with toxic exhaust. The engine is overheating, and you are starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, you were built to sit in the dark. But the open road is literally right outside the garage door. Your engine isn't broken. You just have to shift out of neutral and drive out of the smoke. The potential is completely intact. It is just obscured by the thick smog of notifications, algorithms, and endless noise. What is the actual protocol here? How do we escape the garage? It is astonishingly simple. You just start observing. You don't need to dramatically smash your smartphone with a hammer. You don't need to throw your laptop into a river and move to an off-grid cabin in the woods to churn your own butter. You just need to reactivate your awareness. The next time your hand instinctively twitches toward your pocket to grab your phone while you're standing in an elevator, stop. Just pause for 3 seconds. Ask yourself internally, what exactly am I trying not to feel right now? Do not judge the answer. Do not beat yourself up over it. Just shine a spotlight on the behavior. That simple, tiny act of observation is absolute kryptonite to mindless habits. Because the reality is, your life is not waiting for a cinematic climax to officially begin. It's not waiting until your bank account hits a certain magic number, or until you find the perfect relationship, or until you watch the ultimate motivational video that magically rewires your brain. Your life is actively draining from the clock right this very second. If you remain checked out, you will miss the entire show. And there are 0 encores in this universe. Actually, let's do an exercise together right now. Stop what you are doing. Go down to the comment section below and type exactly one word that encapsulates how this truth makes you feel in your chest right now. Just one word. Is it exposed? Furious? Awake? Anxious? Whatever the visceral gut reaction is, write it down. Do not over-intellectualize it. There is immense transformative power in dragging a hidden emotion out of the dark and giving it a name. That is the very first step in breaking the hypnosis. Once you name the ghost, it stops haunting you. Here is another incredibly harsh reality. You cannot add to cart your way out of a spiritual void. You cannot binge-watch your way into a sense of profound purpose. And you certainly cannot swipe your way into inner peace. You can only achieve those things by looking in the mirror and facing yourself. And yes, that is terrifying. I know it is. That is the exact reason 99% of the population refuses to do it. But it is the only place where actual freedom exists. Do you know why monks in the Himalayas can sit in absolute silence for 10 hours a day without losing their minds? It isn't because they have magical, superhuman brains. It's because they spent years training themselves to stop flinching at their own thoughts. They stopped sprinting away from their own shadows. Meanwhile, the modern tech ecosystem is designed to keep you sprinting on a treadmill until you drop dead. Faster content, shorter clips. Double tap, scroll, repeat. Because if you ever stop running, even for a millisecond, you might look at the bars around you and realize you've been living in a cage. And the cage loses all its power the moment the prisoner realizes he holds the key. Please hear me when I say this. I am not standing on a pedestal preaching to you. I am in the trenches right next to you. I have personally lost countless days, weeks, and entire seasons of my life to this exact same digital anesthesia. I know exactly what it feels like to experience the sheer self-loathing of waking up exhausted because I spent 4 hours consuming absolute garbage content in the dark. But the bridge between a wasted life and a meaningful one isn't perfection. It's the sheer refusal to stay asleep the moment you realize you've drifted off. Slipping into a trance isn't the fatal error. Refusing to pinch yourself awake is the fatal error. That is how decades evaporate. That is how the heavy, suffocating weight of regret is manufactured. And here is the most beautiful part of this entire process. Once you start burning off this digital fog, you don't just magically gain more free time. You get you back. You get your raw curiosity back. Your imagination reignites. You suddenly realize you can experience profound joy without needing an algorithmic dopamine drip every 40 seconds. You start noticing the texture of reality again, the way the air smells right before a massive thunderstorm breaks, the actual sound of your own unfiltered, ugly snort laughter, the staggering, cosmic impossibility that you are breathing air on a rock floating in infinite space. That isn't trivial, poetic nonsense. That is the absolute core of existence. That is the feast you were biologically designed to consume. And it has been sitting right in front of your face your entire life. You just needed to look up from the screen. Have you ever noticed that when brilliant comedians hit an audience with a profound societal truth, everyone laughs, but there's always a collective wince? That's because real truth acts like an antiseptic. It burns when it cleans out the wound. It doesn't come with a trigger warning or a soft, fluffy blanket. It slaps you across the face and then hands you an ice pack because you desperately needed the wake-up call. And the ultimate truth I can leave you with today is this. The universe does not require an anesthetized, watered-down version of you. Your family doesn't need it. Your future self is actively begging you to snap out of it. You were not put on this earth to be a passive consumer. You are not meant to be a silent spectator in the background of a digital feed, tapping a glass screen to applaud other people who are actually out there living. You are here to step into the arena and live your own chaotic, breathtaking, intimidating, completely original life. The version of your life where you take massive risks, fail spectacularly, laugh until your ribs physically ache, cry when your heart breaks, and relentlessly build something real. That is the only mode of existence worth the oxygen you are breathing. I'm going to ask you to make a pact with me right now. Hit the subscribe button. And I do not say that to appease a metric or to satisfy an algorithm. Do it as a physical, digital contract with yourself. Hitting that button is a declaration. It's you saying, I am officially done hitting the snooze button on my reality. It is about curating an environment that refuses to let you slip back into the coma. A space that shakes you by the shoulders and demands that you stay awake, stay vigilant, and stop trading your actual lifespan for cheap pixels. If you aren't ready to make that pact, that's fine. But know that the algorithm will quietly drag you right back under the surface before this video even closes. But if you are ready, that click is the very first crack in the glass of your enclosure. That is you grabbing the sledgehammer. And listen to me closely, especially if your internal monologue has been beating you up lately. You are not a lost cause. It is not too late for you to pivot. You have not ruined your potential. Erase that destructive lie from your programming right now. The mere fact that you have listened to this message all the way to the very end is biological proof that your internal alarm clock is ringing. You are ready. And ready doesn't mean you have zero fear. Ready doesn't mean you have a perfect, color-coded 10-step plan. Ready simply means you are utterly exhausted from pretending that you don't care about your own life. It means you are finally willing to step out of the passenger seat, throw the glowing rectangle in the glove box, and take hold of the steering wheel. Visualize this scenario with me. A decade from today, you are sitting quietly, reflecting on your journey, and you realize that today was the exact pivot point. Not the day you magically conquered all your demons, not the day you became a flawless, optimized machine, but simply the day you decided to stop bleeding your life out into a screen, the day you claimed ownership of your own timeline. And the absolute irony? By tomorrow morning, you will have completely forgotten every single short-form video you mindlessly swiped through today. But you will never, ever forget making this choice. That pivotal moment is available to you right now. Do not wait for conditions to be perfect. Do not wait for a sign from the heavens. Consider this the sign. It is blunt, it is unpolished, and it is entirely real. And reality is exactly what your nervous system has been starving for. Here is your final instruction. Take a massive, deep breath. Close every other tab you have open. And for the love of God, when this video ends, do not immediately open another app to fill the silence. Just sit in the quiet for 60 seconds. Feel the intense, heavy, beautiful reality of being a living, breathing human being right now. Because the ultimate tragedy isn't the habit that puts you in an early grave. It is the habit that slowly, quietly convinces you that you were never really alive to begin with. Put the phone down.